Justin, you're really cute and all that, but you're just a dead end. You're a loser. You know, I was there for you when the tragedy occurred, but you won't let go of the past. I have to move on. I want to be somebody. Ben is going places and so am I, but you don't even want a career. You're going nowhere. She actually said that then. And now, Justin, listen to me. I need your help. We're all afraid of Billy. His father's the county judge and always protects him. Yes, I know that. He refused to look at her. And Billy's bigger and tougher than the other guys, and he's bullying Ben and putting his hands on me. Did you hear that? He says he'll do worse if we tell anyone. No one can beat you in a fight. Call 911, Justin said, nodding to his music. Justin, listen to me. They say he raped a girl in Hardy County and shot a boy in Parsons, and his dad got him off. Well, he hasn't shot Ben yet, and he hasn't raped you, so there's nothing I can do. Is that all? Outraged, Sherry gasped. Justin, don't be a monster. He stood up to leave. His face turned from red rage to white fear. She grabbed his arm. He yanked it away. She burst into tears. Look, she cried, I'm sorry for what happened. I'm sorry I hurt you. I really am. But you pushed me away like you pushed everyone away. You know you did. You're the only one that can stop Billy. Please. She was getting to him. He had to end it. All right, he said. Tell Billy I said to leave you and Ben and everyone else on Earth alone. I already told him you said that. What? I had to, but Billy just spit and called you names I won't repeat. I told him how tough you are, and he swore at me, and he almost hit me. And he's going to hurt us, Justin. Only you can stop him. Justin shook his head. So I fight him, and his father throws me in jail. Sure, I'll ruin my life for you. Any day. You can go now. Tears streamed down Sherry's face. I don't fight anymore, Justin said. But you always fought for justice, she sobbed. There's no justice in this world. Didn't you notice? Look, I'll give it to you straight. I don't care what Billy does to Ben, and I don't care what he does to you. Justin Davis turned up his music, hurled his unfinished lunch into a trash can, and walked away. After a minute, he turned around. Sherry was gone. Good. Then Justice saw him, big Billy Skinner, shuffling toward the cafeteria with two friends. Billy always went in late and walked to the front of the line. Now he spoke to his friends and they laughed. Billy seemed to have a plan. He and his buddies sauntered into the cafeteria. A minute later, one of Billy's fast-talking friends led cafeteria monitor Miss Bloomy out into the yard. Smiling and busily chatting, he pointed out something she had to see. Now, there was no teacher inside to see what Billy would do. Justin sighed, shook his head, cursed himself for being so sentimental, and trudged into the cafeteria. People got out of his way. He leaned against a pillar, nodded to the beat of his music, and watched. Dun, dun, dun.
I know. This book has this in every chapter. Dun, 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 dun.
Amazing. And I really like how Rama reads. You know, she's like,
oh, sorry. I don't want to record our comments, so I can... Go ahead.
Put on my correct glasses. Billy and his friend Jaws, who had a large square jaw, pushed their way through the food line till they stood behind tall, thin Ben Stecker, Sherry's current gentleman, who fearfully loaded up his tray. Still nodding to his music, Justin pushed his hair out of his eyes. Billy smiled at Jaws, said, "Hey, don't push me," and lunged into Ben, who almost lost his tray. Sweating and shaking, looking desperately for the strangely absent Miss Ballooney, Ben bowed his lanky frame and apologized, trying to placate his tormentor. Sherry ran to Justin, grabbed his arm, and pleaded, "Can't you do something?" He pulled his arm away. Call a teacher. If I do that, Billy will kill me. Can't you do something? I'll do anything for you. Justin yawned, opened and closed his fists, stretched his fingers. If Billy attacks, I'll deal with it. Jaws noticed Justin glaring at him, and his square jaw dropped. He whispered to Billy, pointed at Justin, and shook his head. Billy scowled at him and said, for everyone in the hushed hall to hear, You mean little Justin Davis? That little girl with the long hair? Jaws did not reply to this apparently rhetorical question. Justin was short for his age, and his hair did go below his shoulders. By now, Ben was exiting the food line with a full tray, hoping to escape to a far table. That was not to be. Billy pretended to trip and smashed into Ben. Ben's tray went crashing down, with Ben close behind. His thin, chalky, cologned face splashed into his bean soup. He moaned, turned his head, and plunged his styled hair into the spaghetti. Feigning a stumble over Ben's prostrate body, Billy kicked him viciously in the gut with a steel-toe boot. Ben writhed on the floor. Girls screamed. Boys kept a distance. Some ran to find Miss Balooney. Sherry rushed to Ben and wiped food off his dazed, terrified face. Billy glared at her, and she flinched. Justin wrapped up his old iPod and placed it in his coat pocket. He had seen enough. He ambled over to Billy. Billy clenched his fists. Don't mess with me. I'll destroy you. The cafeteria fell dead silent. Breathless students watched at a safe distance. Justin stared at Billy and said, I want you to apologize to Ben, and then I want you to pick up his food. Now. Looking down at Justin, 2 years his junior and half his size, Billy cursed him and shoved him hard in the chest, knocking him back several feet. Excellent. Billy struck first. Justin strolled back up to Billy and said, I told you. Apologize to Ben and pick up the food, you ignorant sociopath. Billy swung his big fist. Justin let the punch graze his cheek. Perfect facial contact. Now it was all self-defense. As Billy finished his swing, Justin said, It's over, caveman. With extraordinary speed, he grabbed Billy's shirt with both hands, and with a sweep of his leg, took the bully high off his feet and smashed him onto the floor, making sure his head didn't hit the ground. Justin didn't want a mess. Billy gasped for air. Justin flew onto his chest and with both fists beat the bully senseless. By then, teachers and staff swarmed over Justin, pulling him off Billy and wrenching him to his feet. He felt a painful grip on both arms and heard teachers rebuking him. His captors forced him along, lifting him off his feet. Justin recalled that today was his 15th birthday. This must be his party. So let's pause there.
This is good.
And Andini, you can pause the recording.
As they dragged him to the principal's office, students shouted all around, Stop Davis before he kills someone. It's not Justin's fault. Billy started it. The voices stopped. He was pushed into a chair in front of Mrs. Patent, the principal's secretary. Justin Davis, again? She rolled her heavily mascaraed eyes and tapped her long green nails. I thought you didn't fight anymore. Anyway, you'll have to wait. Principal Olson is with someone. Justin heard their voices through the door. Dr. Olson was talking to a man with a loud voice. Still racing with adrenaline, Justin caught his breath and waited. And waited. He had never waited this long. Was this meant to humble him? It would not work. He looked around the familiar office. Wow, an elegant new touch. Plastic flowers in a double bubblegum carton. And the old elegance of plastic cartoon rabbits, ducks, and chickens plastered on the walls and main door. And a flyer with vital news. The winner of the Elkins West Virginia beauty pageant gets a free local train pass for the summer. Why was he trapped in this world? His stomach churned. He heard a sound from the hall and turned to a half-open door. Sherry was frantically trying to get his attention. I'm going to the bathroom, Justin said, and left the office before Mrs. Patton could look up. Outside, Sherry was holding Ben and cooing away his pain. We have to talk, Justin, she said. Thanks so much for saving Ben and me. I really mean it. That idiot Billy is going to think twice before he bothers anyone in this school. Whatever, Justin replied. Sherry looked down, looked up, looked sideways, everywhere but in his eyes. Just one more little favor. She held up her thumb and index finger to show how tiny the favor was. Please don't tell Dr. Olson or anyone that I asked you to fight, Billy. You know I'm trying to get into a good college, and I can't have it on my record. You don't care about a career, so it won't matter to you. Justin glared at her. That's right, I'm going nowhere, so it makes no difference to me, right? That's not what I meant. Of course not, he said with weary sarcasm. The Bunton family, Sherry strongly included, had always been social climbers, though there were precious little social terrain to climb in Tucker County. But they were ambitious and had always envied the Davis family, whom they now considered beneath them. Bitterly brooding over this, Justin realized after a moment that Sherry was waving a manicured hand in his face to get his attention. Etching empathy onto her eyes and lips, she said, I'm so sorry, Justin, but you won't tell anyone, will you? No, bye-bye, I'm busy. Seeing that Dr. Olson was still sequestered with his heavy-talking guest, Justin took a few steps down the hall and poked his head into the nurse's office. Nurse Ruby scowled at him and barked, What do you want? He scowled back and said, How is that fine young man doing? You mean the boy you almost killed? Way to go, drama queen, Justin muttered. What did you say, boy? I said, life is a drama, Keen. I am paraphrasing Shakespeare, you know, that other Bill. Very cute, Nurse Ruby said. So much wasted intelligence. At least I've got it to waste, he muttered. What did you say? I said, Skinner is okay, right? He'll be all right, but no thanks to you. Of course it's thanks to me. Fighting is an art, nurse. You do medical arts, and I do martial arts. Nurse Ruby snorted with contempt. She was a total cave dweller. What did she know about fighting or anything else? She was here less than a year. She didn't even know that he used to be normal till his father was murdered. Did she think he liked being angry and depressed all the time? Fool. Do you even care about justice? He said in a parting shot. Another Ruby snort. He muttered, Cave dweller. What did you say? I said, brave feller, that Billy Skinner. Later, nurse, and have a great day. Returning to the principal's office, he found Mrs. Patton lost in her computer screen and Dr. Olson still talking to that man, whoever he was. Justin fidgeted in his chair. His mind raced back to the night of the murder. Damn! When would that image stop haunting him? It forced its way into his mind. He saw his father in his favorite chair, reading a book, when the killer burst into the room and pointed his gun at Justin's father. Justin gasped and shook. Are you all right? Mrs. Patton said. He looked up, hiding his trembling hands. Of course I'm all right, he said. I just got attacked in the cafeteria, that's all. Mrs. Patton gave him a motherly glance. I thought you Vegans were peaceful. Are there many fighting Vegans? Don't be offended, I'm just asking. He looked away until she returned to her work. Then he wiped the sweat from his forehead and reminded himself that this world was unreal, a shadow and a cave. But philosophy did not remove the searing pain in his heart. The other man walked out of the principal's office. He was tall and slim with thin wire glasses perched on a narrow nose. He gave Justin an unsmiling nod and left. What was that all about? Finally summoned, Justin sat before Principal Olson, who always said basically the same thing. The game was to guess exactly what Olson would say. Justin, every test we give you shows you are a genius. You are the brightest student in this school and the most violent. We all know about your skill in fighting. 100% so far, nothing new. We know what you and your family have been through, but life must go on. That's what your father would have wanted. Make something of yourself. You could be a leader. All the kids would follow you like before. Now, they just fear you. You could do so much in this world, but you gave up on life. No surprises there, but it hurt nonetheless. I know what I've become, Justin thought, but I can't change. Okay, Dr. Olson, now do the embarrassing mother line. All I can say, Dr. Olson continued, is that you are so lucky to have such a great mom. She's a very fine lady. I know the life she was used to, and what she's going do now. I know how hard it is for all of you, but it will all work out someday. Anyway, you've heard it all before. Correct, sir. And about this fight today, you'll say it was just self-defense. That's your usual plea. Yes, sir. Justin's stomach churned. I have a right to defend myself. Billy struck first. In fact, he struck me twice. As we both know, according to Education Code 18A 5C1C, I have a right to attend a school free from bullying. And I have a further state right to use reasonable and proportionate force to protect myself. So I suppose you'll refer me to the psychologist. Dr. Olson looked down, twiddled his thumbs, and said, That's exactly what I was going to do, though it seems that you and the school psychologist have read all the same books. I was going to do that, but we have a little problem this time. What problem? Justin asked. This was not in the script. Dr. Olson shook his head. The school superintendent, Miss Dr. Green, is visiting today. I was just speaking to him. Oh? Well, so what? The so what is this. He happened to be near the cafeteria when you pounded Billy to a pulp, and he saw what you did, or the result of it. Then, as I was speaking to him, Dr. Green got a call from Judge Skinner. You mean Billy's father? Exactly. Superintendent Green feels that since you were a martial arts champion, you were not in any real danger from Billy, and thus did not act in self-defense, and thus did not use reasonable and proportionate force. So he suspended you from the school. What? He can't just do that. Oh, yes, he can. And he did. You are to empty your locker and be off school property within half an hour, or the superintendent will have the police escort you off. Dr. Green knows what you've been through. He showed sympathy, but did not change his decision because he's afraid of the judge. Justin, he is seriously considering expelling you as a threat to this school. God only knows what will become of you. I wish I could do more, but I can't. This is crazy. Justin clenched his fists. He can't do this to me. Justin, you're not going to fight your way out of this one. Write a humble apology to Dr. Green and ask for another chance. I know him, and I think he'll let you back in. But you must humble yourself and apologize. Yeah, sure. Justin gritted his teeth. As far as I care, Justin can go, and don't say it, Justin. Come on, let me help you. Thanks, but no thanks. Well, what do you mean? I mean, I don't want to be here. Not in this school, not in this country, not on this planet. I don't want any of it. It was nice of you to try. Thanks for everything. Say hello to Mrs. Olson. Justin stomped out of the office. As he passed Mrs. Patton, she said, Will we ever see the real Justin Davis again? She struck too close to home. What are you talking about? He shouted. This is who I am now. No, not really. Mrs. Patton, no offense, but you're a secretary, not a psychiatrist, okay? Justin didn't wait for an answer. He stomped out, emptied his hall locker, and slammed it so hard that teachers ran out of their classrooms. He then stormed down the hall, kicking walls and cursing the world as frightened students flew out of his path. He marched up the mountain highway toward his humiliating home in Davistown. If only a car would hit him and end his misery.
Okay, let's see. All right, we start in chapter 3. Okay. All right. He tramped along, kicking stones, hardly seeing the monotonous forest trees on both sides. It was 6 miles to Thomas, 2.5 more to Davis. A billboard boasted of coming county events, the spring bird walk, the woodcock roundup. He shook his head and rolled his eyes. They could have filmed Groundhog Day here. No actors, just film the town every day. No actors, just film the town every day. That's funny. Sorry. He hadn't always scorned Tucker County. As a child, he reveled in his life as a small town celebrity in a town founded by and named after his family. A botanical garden and even a college 40 miles down in Elkins bore the family name. The Davis family lived in a great ancestral home, the finest in the county. Justin went with his dad to the golf and racket club in Canaan Valley. Beyond Tucker County at the university in Morgantown, Tark Davis was an academic celebrity, and Justin basked in his family pride. I just wanted to stop for a second and say, wow, I had no idea, because up till now I thought Justin was just like, I thought they were kind of poor or something. It's like his family
Well,
has influence too.
yeah. So this is what I was saying. I didn't interrupt you because I didn't want to go ahead of what was
She didn't
being
want to pay the
read.
$25 penalty.
But he actually has, he has means.
He has more influence and means than even this kid Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh, so recording.
Torch,
Going here. With all these blessings, Justin might as easily have become an insufferably arrogant child. He did not, however, and for that the credit went to his parents. His mother, Star Davis, had grown up as a destitute orphan. Rather than make her a bitter or greedy adult, her past inspired her in a deep empathy for the less fortunate, and she taught this to her son. Justin's father, Tark Davis, though wealthy and erudite, believed that his good fortune obliged him to serve others. And he too taught these lessons to his sons. Thus, when Justin decided at an early age to study martial arts, Tark made him promise to use his skills only to protect the innocent, never out of pride. Justin Davis greatly admired his parents, and he embraced their values. Indeed, from childhood, Justin idolized his father. He walked and talked like Tark Davis. Everywhere they went together, people smiled and said that Justin was a perfect copy of his dad. And they told his father that Justin was a handsome, brilliant child. Father and son enjoyed the same sports, admired the same natural beauty, and laughed at the same jokes. All of Tucker County called Justin the Prince, a title he relished from his early childhood. His little brother Joey, almost from infancy, adored Justin. Crawling, toddling, or walking, Joey followed Justin as much as Justin followed his father. Thus, from Tark to Justin to Joey, the Davis men were a very tight team. Tark often took his older son on trips, which always had some beneficent purpose. Star Davis had not been a healthy child and did not like to travel much. She was happy to stay at home on the family estate to engage her passion of writing and look after Joey. When Star's career prospered, Tark built her a media room on their estate where she did frequent online interviews. Justin liked to sit and listen. He was fascinated by his mother's ability to tell delightful and meaningful stories. At times, Tark would take his boys up in his plane and fly over the town, the high school, or Canaan Valley. If safety permitted, Tark let Justin steer the plane for a few minutes. If they had time, they sailed off through the blue to Morgantown. There they walked along the wide Monongahela River, walked on the lovely campus, visited Tark's office, and always made their final stop at Justin's favorite ice cream parlor. On their approach back to Davis, Tark would fly over Blackwater Falls before landing on the private runway at his large country estate. The family had their routine. The men flew, and Star wrote articles and books. Weather permitting, the family held picnics on a favorite shaded meadow on the Davis land. Star would read from her latest writing, and the family listened eagerly. His mother was Justin's favorite writer. "And it's not because you're my mother," he always said. Justin passed his childhood perfectly content with his life. He excelled at school, dominated regional martial arts as well as the youth social scene, and admired his parents above everyone he knew or saw or read or heard about. Around the age of 13, Justin made his first independent intellectual foray. He developed an increasing interest in movies and books about superheroes and higher worlds. Such interest by itself was normal. Much of humanity enjoyed such stories, and so did Justin from early childhood. But now, he insisted in talks with his parents that he was developing a special theory to explain why so many people relish such stories. Knowing that Justin consistently achieved genius scores on standard intelligence tests and seeing his firm interest in this topic, his parents tried to understand exactly what he meant. Out of love and real respect for their son, his parents listened as he tried to articulate his new theory. With parental help, Justin's theory took shape as follows. People all over the world were powerfully drawn to stories of superheroes and higher worlds. Justin believed that the standard psychological explanation for these phenomena were not the whole truth. In his view, people were fascinated by higher powers and worlds because they actually existed within the universe. People intuitively, though unconsciously, understand this. Therefore, it was easy and natural for so many people to suspend their disbelief when watching such movies or reading such books. Obviously, Justin acknowledged Hollywood's versions of superheroes and higher worlds were fiction, but only in the details, only on the surface. The basic premise was true. Superheroes and higher worlds really existed, and Justin wanted to find them. Star Davis, an avid reader of Plato in her youth, contributed an idea to Justin's theory. In his Meno, Plato presents the notion of anamnesis, an idea that we know certain things because we remember them from a past life. I don't know if reincarnation takes place, Star said, but at least Justin is in good company. I mean, here with Plato. I think we understand my theory now, Justin said. Fascinating, Tark added. I want to explore this further, Justin said, but I don't know how. Maybe I should meditate. You could try that, Star said, and you might also read more books on the subject. It would seem that if you're right, other souls over the centuries must have had come to similar conclusions. Some of them probably wrote about it. We can look online together. Star Davis smiled. I used to dream of being a librarian. Justin effortlessly transmitted his interest in these topics to Joey, who demanded that Justin inform him of any new discovery in this area. Justin was happy to see that his entire family encouraged him in his new interest. Soon after this, two new developments stressed the tight unity of the Davis family. The first was that Tark Davis grew in fame and popularity. His innovative programs to improve education in West Virginia gained national attention. Soon, Tark was crisscrossing the country, though not in his small plane. Across the nation, he became a most sought-after speaker in all sorts of academic and government seminars, conventions, think tanks, and more. The national press soon discovered him. A brilliant scholar and educator who served the poor, looked like a movie star, and spoke with heaps of country charm, could not fail to become a star commentator on endless national news shows. Both major political parties talked to him about running for office on their ticket. Everyone seemed highly pleased with Tark Davis except his own family, who complained about his frequent absence. During his short visits home, Tark asked Justin about his research in metaphysics. Justin angrily said, "You don't have time to hear about it. You're always gone. You want to help everyone, but you have no time for your family." Startled by these words, his father promised Justin that he would spend more time at home. "I have unavoidable commitments for the next few months," Tark said, "but after that, I promise things will be different. It will be like it was before, I promise you." It had been a little over a year before Justin's suspension from Tucker County High School that Tark Davis had made the sincere promise to his son. Soon after that, a second new development stressed Davis family solidarity. Romance struck Justin in the form of his first girlfriend, lovely Sherry Bunton. His mother warned him that the Bunton family was very ambitious and that Sherry possessed a generous portion of that proclivity. Tark also expressed concern, but all such parental caution was in vain. Sherry was by wide consensus a top-tier beauty at Tucker County High School, and her family was growing prosperous by county standards, though not on the scale of the Davis family. Family gatherings now took on a new configuration. Tark was usually absent, and Sherry was always present. Already feeling the absence of his father, Joey now complained to Justin, "You act so weird around Sherry. Why can't you be normal?" "I don't know what you're talking about," Justin replied. "I mean, you don't talk to me. You only talk to her." Justin said he would be more careful. The time that Tark had requested of his family, time to honor previous commitments, now passed. But just when his family expected him to return home to what had been their happy life, he revealed to his wife and elder son another, more serious problem. Dun, dun, dun.